Yeah, it's not surprising that they tried to get out in front of this and tried to persuade Netflix not to come forward with it. I think it's an interesting argument because what they're claiming is, Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, has had a long-standing, animosity against Diddy and sort of vice versa. And because he's at the helm, they're arguing this can't be taken seriously. This should sort of be seen as propaganda. And one of the things that Netflix hit back with was, yes, he's the executive producer. He doesn't necessarily have creative control.
Right now, as we speak, a network of former associates tied to Sean Diddy Combs is actively shopping a collection of private recordings so explosive they could trigger the biggest celebrity collapse in modern history. And at the center of this storm, Jennifer Lopez. But this isn't just another infidelity scandal or a leaked intimate moment. These tapes allegedly don't just show private encounters. They're said to contain proof of a permanent, untreatable condition that insiders claim Diddy passed to J.Lo in the late 90s. A condition she's reportedly been managing in secret ever since. And according to sources close to the situation, Ben Affleck didn't just walk away from their marriage. He fled after being shown evidence of what was on those recordings. The tapes, we've learned, aren't just about J.Lo. They're part of a much larger operation. One where former fixers and street-level operatives are now contacting victims with a chilling offer. Pay up or the world sees everything.
Selfish.
Now we should say that, remember, Diddy and his team were very upset when they found out that this footage was part of the documentary and they tried to shut it down, but,
the act of taping it is what
out.
is so
the
awful.
The act of taping it, right.
Without
Diddy would say that I didn't authorize that video going out, and the argument they've made is that he's the one who has the right, that he owns that footage.
The urgency here can't be overstated. These aren't old rumors resurfacing. They're active negotiations happening in real time. People who were in the room when these recordings were made are now reaching out to those captured on camera, demanding seven-figure sums to keep the footage buried. And the stakes go far beyond one relationship. The tapes allegedly implicate not just J.Lo, but a roster of A-list names. Usher, Justin Bieber, even politicians, all reportedly filmed without their knowledge during what insiders describe as insurance gatherings. These weren't just private moments. They were leverage, a way for Diddy to control careers, silence critics, and keep his empire untouchable. The question isn't whether these recordings exist, it's who's willing to pay to keep them hidden, and who's about to be exposed when the bidding wars fail.
It's a much lower standard of a preponderance of the evidence, or in more layman's terms, more likely than not, the measurement we as attorneys typically use for that is 51%. And so for a civil case, you're just saying, hey, is there a 51% chance that Sean Combs allegedly committed these acts? If so, he would be liable. In the federal case, which was criminal, that was proof beyond a reasonable doubt, where he was found guilty of those two counts you mentioned earlier, and is serving a 50-month sentence in Fort Dix, New Jersey.
What makes this different from every other Hollywood scandal is the medical angle. Multiple sources with knowledge of the situation tell us that J.Lo's condition, a permanent consequence of her past relationship with Diddy, wasn't just a personal struggle. It became a point of leverage in her marriage to Affleck. Insiders claim he didn't file for divorce over irreconcilable differences. He filed after being confronted with proof of what was on those tapes, including allegations about J.Lo's long-concealed health battle. The exhausted, drained version of Affleck we saw in public in the months before the split. That, according to those close to him, was the face of a man carrying a secret he couldn't share. A secret that, if made public, wouldn't just end a marriage. It would rewrite the legacy of one of the most powerful women in entertainment. But here's where the story gets even darker.
He'll explain why he's speaking out now.
He said he's speaking out because he believes Diddy's a predator. He wants accountability, and he doesn't want someone like this to run unchecked in the future.
The tapes aren't just floating around in some digital vault. They're being traded like commodities. Former Diddy associates, people who once handled his most sensitive cleanup operations, are now the ones holding the footage. And they're not just targeting the stars in the recordings. They're going after their teams, their publicists, even their family members with one message. This can all go away for a price. The problem, the FBI doesn't have all of them. Diddy's legal team doesn't have all of them. And the people who do, they're waiting for the perfect moment to maximize the damage. One industry source put it bluntly. This isn't about money anymore. It's about power. And right now, the power is in the hands of the people who know who's desperate enough to pay. Meanwhile, Diddy's upcoming sentencing isn't just about the solicitation charges he was convicted of. 2 counts, each carrying up to a decade in prison. It's about the larger criminal enterprise prosecutors believe he was running.
Possibly, you know, it's the federal government building a case against you. Maybe you would go for the lesser offer, but again, that would be having to admit that he had did something wrong. And the defense has always maintained that he is innocent. He has done nothing wrong. That this is just, you know, these are just ex-girlfriends that are mad at, like just all these types of things that the defense.
When Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France, Diddy said, "You don't do a freak off, I'm going to release one of the freak off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate you."
The tapes are the missing piece, the thing that could turn a 50-month sentence into a life behind bars. But there's a twist. The feds don't have the full collection. Neither does Diddy, because the real control isn't in owning the footage. It's in knowing who's willing to burn their own career to keep it hidden. And that list, we're told, includes names so powerful that even Diddy couldn't keep them in line forever. Let's rewind to how he got here. The prosecution's case against Diddy already painted a damning picture. During his trial, ex-girlfriends and former associates testified about his freak-offs. Multi-day gatherings where male companions were allegedly paid thousands to participate, with some encounters filmed as blackmail material. Cassie Ventura, his ex and a former Bad Boy Records artist, described being coerced into these situations, saying Diddy used the footage to maintain control. Another woman, identified only as Jane, testified that she felt trapped in the same cycle. Lavish gifts, then pressure, then the threat of exposure.
That heartbreak set both of us on a course to figuring ourselves out and to being better people.
Do you think you've forgiven me all the way?
Yeah, I think I've forgiven you all the way. I think I need to forgive myself some things.
The jury acquitted him on the most serious charges, racketeering and human trafficking. But the 2 guilty verdicts on transportation for solicitation were enough to land him in prison. What the jury didn't see, the tapes that prosecutors believe could have locked him away for life, because those tapes, according to our sources, were never in the evidence locker. They were in the hands of the same fixers who once worked for Diddy and who are now selling access to the highest bidder. And then there's the Ben Affleck factor.
I mean, let's just be real for a second. There are a lot of lawyers who call this legal extortion, and that this is the way the legal system works, which is you threaten somebody with reputational harm, and in this case, it's interesting that Jay-Z, who's very wealthy, said it would be financial ruin.
And I didn't love myself.
Right. It's tough. This is some journey, right?
It is.
And you know, I was thinking about your music. Most of your songs are about love. They really are.
They're all.
Their divorce wasn't just another Hollywood split. It was a strategic retreat. Sources say Affleck was shown evidence of the tapes, including the allegations about J.Lo's condition shortly before filing. The timing lines up with his sudden public withdrawal, his hollow red carpet appearances, even his reported reluctance to engage in PR pushes for their projects together. This wasn't a man checking out of a marriage. It was a man racing to distance himself before the explosion. One insider claimed Affleck's team was warned. If this gets out, you'll be guilty by association. So he cut ties fast. No dramatic statements. No tell-all interviews, just a quiet, legally airtight exit. But here's the problem. The tapes don't just implicate J.Lo, and they allegedly show who else was in those rooms. And if the rumors are true, that list includes people who can't afford to be named. Now, let's talk about the extortion scheme itself. It's not some shadowy underground operation. It's happening in plain sight through encrypted messages and offshore accounts with middlemen who once worked for Diddy, now playing both sides. We've learned that at least 3 major stars, names you'd recognize instantly, have already paid 6-figure sums to suppress footage. But the demands are escalating. And the fixers, they're not just targeting the famous faces on camera. They're going after the people who enabled the system. Managers, lawyers, even former Bad Boy Records executives who turn a blind eye. The message is clear. You profited from this. Now you pay to keep it buried. The most chilling part, the tapes aren't just from the 90s or early 2000s. Insiders claim Diddy's operation continued well into the 2000s with hidden cameras in private jets, luxury suites, even recording studios. The technology got better, the stakes got higher, and the list of potential victims grew longer. One former associate told us this wasn't just about Diddy's personal collection. It was an insurance policy. If you crossed him, if you threatened his empire, he had something on you. And now, with Diddy facing prison, those same recordings are being weaponized against the people who thought they were safe. But why hasn't any of this leaked yet?
Of coming forward. They've been afraid of what he could potentially do to them within the industry, what he could do to them professionally, maybe even personally. And so, yes, it's been a dark secret they've held on to for a very, very long time.
Because the people holding the tapes are playing the long game. They're not interested in quick cash or viral moments. They're waiting for the right moment, the kind of scandal that doesn't just dominate headlines but reshapes entire careers. And with Diddy's sentencing looming, that moment is coming. The question is, who's going to crack first? The stars paying to stay silent, the fixers demanding more, or the prosecutors who know this is their chance to finally take down the whole operation? And then there's Jennifer Lopez. Right now, she's in the most dangerous position of all. The tapes don't just show her. They allegedly prove she knew about the larger operation, that she was part of a system where silence was the price of survival.